In my experience, the greatest, pain, more or less, would have been of course, the Jim Crow laws. And there's others that possibly may be able to articulate this a little better than I, but each state began to become an entity within itself, especially in the South, and they created laws that were contrary to the federal laws that would have protected the rights of African Americans. And so there's still laws that were present to ensure the no upward mobility for African Americans. They were promised, was it 40 acres and a mule? Well, not if you were African American. So, therefore, land which was precious, and of course, most wealth begins with land, especially of that day. If you're not able to buy land, and if you did have land, there's a good chances it would be taken from you. You had great problems in accumulating wealth. So the Jim Crow laws, right after the Emancipation Proclamation, unquestionably challenged this nation to do what the Founding Fathers received the revelation to do in order to make it a great nation. Declaration of Independence says we hold these truths to be self-evident. What truth do you hold to be self-evident? That all mankind was created equal, endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, can't take them away. Life, among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. America never held that truth. But the Founding Fathers received revelation. Revelation never meets you where you're at. You're to ascend to the pinnacle of that revelation, like Moses receiving the law. Okay, we got the law now. Now we have to ascend. We have to move from where we're at and begin to embrace this law. The Founding Fathers, the major constructors of the Constitution, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson did not hold that truth. Washington did not hold that truth. God was saying, fellas, if you can get the nation to hold this truth and your laws reflect it, I'll make this the greatest nation ever on this planet. We've never held it. Even now, there were those, it's just like Abraham and Lot. Abraham says, is there 50 righteous? Is there 45? Is there 30? There were righteous men and women in this country that found it appalling, but not to the point where it would affect our laws, and our leaders would all represent what God had given these men to do. We hold this truth. Okay, 1865, Emancipation Proclamation, the greatest, most, I would say, the most painful war this country has ever fought was the Civil War. What was it over? We hold these truths. North said yes, South said no. Right after that, you went right into the Jim Crow laws, where 1963, Dr. King goes to the Lincoln Memorial and says, America has become a schizophrenic nation. Why? Simply because it says that we hold these truths to be self-evident. You had men fight on foreign shores for other people's rights, and when they got back home, they couldn't ride in the front of the bus. We never held the truth. And so now it's 1965. You have the first Civil Rights Amendment, which is another story I don't want to feel like getting into right now, but you have the amendment. Okay, we're going to begin to undo the Jim Crow laws. It's shortly right after that, you have, I think it's Denver in 68, come up with the first laws where you can actually mutilate and kill a child in the womb by law. It's either Colorado or New York that became the first states. Soon as it looks like you're getting ready to get it together to hold this truth, there's always a mutation of some sort of evil to represent, no, you don't hold this truth. And so 1973, you had Roe versus Wade. And now it's federally, it's across the board. My point is this: the pro-life movement is the only movement in America that demands that this nation hold this truth. And when we do, we will be the place that Dr. King, I believe, saw in 1963, where Mississippi becomes an oasis of truth. Dr. King said, oh, Mississippi will be an oasis of truth one day. He said the sons of former slaves will sit at the table of the sons of former slaveholders. He said that his daughter, his 4 little children would live in a world, would not be judged by the color of their skin, by the content of their character. I believe that this nation one day will achieve that, and that we'll all be able to boldly say one day, we've never had before, but one day we hold these truths. That was the one truth God said, if you hold this, I'll take care of the rest. We never held it.